welcome to Classic Motors. You know, for me, there's something about classic cars that gives me a certain thrill, coupled with nostalgia and that undescribable tingle factor. Now, for all you modern car enthusiasts who are sat there going, oh yeah, you lot that think that classic car fans are just stuck in a time warp and misguided, well, you better keep watching because this series might just change your mind. Now, here I am with Michael.
Hello. Would
you like to tell me about your car? What have we got here?
This is a Ferrari Spider S48.
And beautiful as well. How much is it worth?
It's probably worth about £23,000 now.
That's fantastic. How long have you had it?
I've had this just about a year now.
And did it come like this, or?
It was pretty well built like this, but I've had to completely restore it and rebuild the engine and do a complete renovation, really.
Wow,
it's a lovely car.
Well, what's your favourite memory of it? What do you like to do when you go out in it?
I love to pose.
Does everyone look at you when you're out?
Oh, they do. The girls love the car, children love the car. They swarm like bees around it. It's really, really nice.
It is absolutely
beautiful. It brings back the year of cars, doesn't it? Back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. It's brilliant.
You see, he's got that tingle factor. As you can see here,
ace.
we've got this lovely Ferrari Spider, and here is another Ferrari that everyone loves as well. This is the Testarossa story.
So the Ferrari badge is the icon. It is what we all dream of. It is what on everybody's posters on their walls. And in this truck, there is something unbelievably special. You can hear it, and in a minute, we will be driving it. This is probably the most famous name in Ferrari's history. It's a Testarossa. The word means redhead, and all the Testarossa engines have scarlet rocker covers. It was launched in 1956 as a 2-litre called the 500 TR, and then had a 4-cylinder engine. A year later, they combined the 290 chassis and this bodywork with the 250 GT V12 power plant. That became the 250 Testarossa. Rich clients' desire for older exotic cars, but with good reliability, led DK to build just 8 perfect Testarossas. They're all based on the one original Ferrari prototype, which was chassis number 0666. This one was built for a secret European client and used the correct V12 Type 128F engine and the 250 GT4 gearbox. It has disc brakes, it has the tubular chassis, it has triple carbs, it has a stunningly beautiful hand-welded body. It was originally, in fact, in white, and the last owner decided to make it a classic Ferrari red. The donor car was in fact a 1960 Ferrari 250 GTE, which was a 2+2 body with a V12 3-litre engine. It had independent front suspension and a live rear axle. Ferrari needed money to help develop their race cars, and with Pininfarina they in secret developed this 2+2 in the knowledge that it would have a wide market and therefore a decent income for them. They were incredibly successful in keeping it secret and then in their PR, because for the 1960 Le Mans they managed to unveil the car when it was used as the race director's car at the circuit. So everybody saw it. And just to rub it in, 7 of the first 8 places in that Le Mans race were held by Ferrari. The GTE helped double production over the next 3 years and was even used by the great Enzo as personal transport. So when it comes to a suitable donor car for such a beautiful Testarossa, it seemed an ideal end for a tired example. Under here, there is just a spectacular sight. Look. Isn't that brilliant? Inside, it's everything you'd expect. It's simple, it's stark, it's light. You can see the space frame chassis. It's very saving on weight, but is strong. You can see the exhaust system through the bottom of the floor, which is everything again you would expect of a period car. Getting in, a little tricky, but once there, The transmission feels strange. It's very high. It's almost like a present-day touring car. The gate is everything classical. It is the famous, it's very beguiling this. It's a very famous gate, but it threatens you because you don't have a canopy over it, and therefore you spend your time hunting and praying you're going to get it in. Come on, let's try it. I'll get the hair back and we'll have some fun. The start button is kind of neat. You turn it on and you press the key. Isn't that just music? The clutch is really very solid on this, so we may well stall it. If we don't, we're going to have some fun. The engine is so smooth that although it sounds aggressive, it's actually very docile. We can pull it way back now and it will still cooperate. You can really understand why Ferrari generates just so much passion. It's just a wonderful love affair. Can you imagine a better job than this?
Ferrari Testarossa there, what a wonderful car. I remember when they launched it in the UK, Ferrari took us to the fabulous Manoir de 4 Saisons. We had a day of driving Ferraris and eating 2 Michelin Rosette lunches. I mean, what more could you ask for? Heaven on earth. Of course, you don't have to be a Ferrari owner to be part of the classic car movement. The MGB here is the stalwart car for so many classic car enthusiasts. We talked to one, Dennis Sherman.
I had a little midget, was out for a ride one day in Cambridgeshire, went down this little lane, got lost, turned round in a car sales forecourt, and there it stood, totally restored. Hadn't been on the road since it had been done. Went back the next day, gave the man the money, came away with the car. End of story. Just fell in love the day I see it.
A Morgan is like nothing else on earth, particularly the Plus 8 version. It's a car for Rocket Man. The first thing that strikes you about this car is the explosive acceleration. It's got massive torque, which gives excellent mid-range performance, all important for that very iffy overtaking manoeuvre. The top speed is just 125 miles an hour, not a lot, but to my mind what's more important is how it gets you there. That sort of power would be fine in a scientifically honed contemporary car, but this car's suspension with its leaf springs at the rear and sliding pillar steering at the front, mated to a steel ladder frame chassis, is totally prehistoric. It's a real seat-of-the-pants experience. The good experience comes on winding, twisty, but smooth roads, where the lack of suspension travel and body roll make it a really great drive. Seat-of-the-pants experience which comes when you show a Morgan a bump. Hits a few bumps at speed and a pilot's license could come in very handy. Add a bit of rain and things can deteriorate even further. You may think I'm knocking this car, but I'm most definitely not. It's the most rewarding and involving car to drive. Once you know how it reacts, and provided you've got good reactions, then it's just huge, huge fun. Booted in a slow corner and you can provoke oversteer at will. Not that I suggest you try it on the open road, otherwise it's got a comforting tendency to understeer, unless that is, you're airborne. This is not a car for wimps.
Sweat. Sweat. Sweat.
And that was a lovely Will High and the Morgan that never goes out of fashion, just like his moustache. And now I'm with Tony here with a very unusual exhibit at the Classic Car Show here. What have we got here, Tony?
This is a 1967 Portafold folding caravan.
A folding caravan. Show us a picture of what it looks like.
That's what it looks like folded.
Flat. And what's it actually made out of?
It's made of fiberglass.
It's made of fiberglass. And is it comfy to sleep in?
I don't know, it's the first time we've had it out this weekend.
How many people can you actually sleep in it? Come and have a look.
Apparently you can sleep 5. That's a push.
Sleep 5? Have you seen how big it is? Have you tried sleeping in it?
Not yet, no.
I think you should. It'd be very, very comfortable. Look, let's go give it a try. We'll catch you after the break. Come on, Tony, in we get.
Hello and welcome back to Classic Motors. Now, over the last few years, Classic Auctions has become an excellent way of getting into the classic car business by buying your car. Simon Hope, H&H Auctions at Buxton, you've been holding some very successful classic car auctions. What's the market like at the moment?
Very good for particular things. You know, there's various cars that were deemed classic in the late 80s when everything was silly, of course, have now become more sensible and actually sort of been deemed not to be classic. The sort of definition the insurance companies use of over 10 years old. Everybody thinks what they've got is classic, but in reality a classic is something that was desirable when it was new and sort of still is now.
I mean, is it a risky business buying a classic car at an auction?
Not really. I mean, we're one of the few auctioneers that actually has an engineer on site that does in fact attempt to make sure that it's not a total pup, and we make sort of comments so that people can do that the day before they can listen to the engines, not on sale day, because otherwise you'd have 80 odd cars all running quite happily. But no, I mean, we do our homework and one thing or another. Obviously things can go wrong, and auctions are the sort of caveat emptor, buyer beware situation.
What's your tip for a future classic that people should be coming to your auction and buying now?
We're into a situation now where historic Grand Prix cars, which I drive with, are in their present form impossible to drive as a historic. You know, in the future the present Formula 1 cars will be unusable because you need 12 people just to get it round 10 laps, or just to get it out. So I would have thought, I mean, early Mark 1 Golf GTIs are sort of becoming good ones, are going in that direction. And I'd stick with what I said before, really. Anything that was classic and desirable when it was new will probably be so 25 years on.
Well, now it's time to go and join Steve Vokins at the National Motor Museum Trust, where this week he gets the chance to compare old and new Rolls Royces.
Yes, the Silver Seraph truly is an exquisite motor car, but I've wanted to drive one car more than this ever since I was that high, when I first started getting driving ambitions. And that car is based at the National Motor Museum. It really is the most exquisite looking car you'll ever see. It's the 1909 Rolls Royce Silver Ghost, and here it is in all its glory. How's that for a seamless gear change with no synchromesh, no crunching of gears there at all? This car is a delight to pilot. It's so majestic on the road with its proud Spirit of Ecstasy mascot, its big wings. It's got such presence on the road. No one shows you any animosity. They just wave at you and you just feel like the king of the world. The Spirit of Ecstasy has an interesting story attached to it, in that in the early days, Rolls-Royce had no official mascot, but by 1910 they were getting a bit fed up with their owners putting all sorts of mascots on, so they commissioned the sculptor Charles Sykes to come up with something more appropriate for Rolls-Royce. And he was a great friend of Lord Montagu's father's, So he came to him and they decided on something like the Spirit of Ecstasy, and the model that they used was Lord Montagu's father's secretary, a lady called Miss Eleanor Thornton. Unfortunately, 5 years later, she died while sailing to America on a boat called the SS Persia that was torpedoed. But she's forever remembered in the mascot that sits proudly on the front of every Rolls Royce. The story of this car is quite wonderful as well. It was supplied new in 1909. It's the 939th Rolls Royce built. It went through various owners until by the 1950s it was being used, believe it or not, as a breakdown truck. That's when we found it in Scotland. We had it brought back to Beaulieu and the truck body work was stripped off and it was displayed in a restored chassis form in the hall of Palace House for a number of years before it had its replica Bois de Belge body put on by Leslie Willis. And ever since then, it's been the pride of the fleet. It's been all over the world with Lord Montagu. It's one of his favourite cars, and he's in good company, because it's one of mine too.
Allegedly, the reason the car was originally named the Silver Ghost was because of the quietness of its engine, seen here newly rebuilt by the workshops at Beaulieu. It has 6 cylinders, 2 plugs per cylinder, and is just over 7 litres in capacity, propelling the more reckless of drivers to speeds of around 65 miles an hour. The car, however, feels much nicer at speeds of 40 to 50.
What a fabulous machine. Absolutely beautiful. It's every bit as good as I'd always dreamt it would be. So that's 1909. This is 90 years younger. Let's see what 90 years of evolution has done to the breed. I've road tested the Silver Ghost in the New Forest, but with this car I wanted to go a bit further afield, somewhere really exotic. I thought about Monte Carlo, but I just hadn't got the time. So I took a half-hour boat ride and arrived on the Isle of Wight. The only problem is the roads are appalling. So here I am in the height of summer and it's raining. Come here to see all this glorious scenery, but I can see virtually nothing. But that just doesn't matter. I'm enjoying the drive of a lifetime in a cosseting environment. In fact, so cosseting is it that I've absolutely no idea what it's really like out there if it weren't for the fact that Rolls Royce have provided me with an outside temperature gauge, so you can see just how cruel the outside world really is. Thank you, Rolls Royce. But what about some facts and figures? The car weighs 2.3 tonnes and it can do 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds. But even more impressive than that, it can stop from 62 miles an hour to 0 in an absolutely breathtaking 3 seconds flat. The car is powered by a 5.3 litre V12 engine, delivering 322 brake horsepower. But you know what? Calling them horsepower just demeans the car. The way the power is delivered so smoothly, so silently and so effortlessly, I'm not so sure they're horses at all. I think that they are little seraphs. There's a host of heavenly angels, little seraphs, just pushing you along effortlessly. This car is actually the hardest car I've ever had to road test. Driving the car just makes you feel a very, very special person. In my experience and opinion, there is no car available today that offers a finer air of excellence, a deeper sense of luxury and a greater sense of superb craftsmanship than the Rolls Royce Silver Seraph, and it therefore richly deserves the title originally bestowed on its ancestor, the finest motor car in the world.
That was Steve Vokins looking at the big Rolls Royces, and from one big car to another massive car. This is a fantastic Continental, and we've got Sheila here with us to tell us about it. Hi Sheila. Oh look, there's room for me to sit down as well. Tell me the story behind how you got this Continental.
Well, actually the car is a 30th wedding anniversary present to each other.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yes. We decided we were changing our car, and I saw this one, fell in love with it, and that was it.
And whereabouts did you get it from? Did you have
Darlington.
to go to Darlington?
Yes.
So you didn't go across the Atlantic?
No, no, only up to Darlington to the importers.
Wow.
And
how much is it worth?
Well, less than the price of a new Mini.
Really? You can't believe that, can you? But you love it. And do you keep it garaged, or do you use it?
Use it 52 weeks of the year.
You are joking.
No, down to the supermarket in Monday morning.
How do you manage to fit it in the car parking spaces?
Well, it takes 2 car parking spaces, I'm afraid.
I'm not surprised.
With the width of the doors, we need it.
So you can get a lot of shopping in here, I guess.
Yes, yes, a lot.
And what's with the flowers on the dashboard that we see here?
Well, my daughter got married a little while ago, and she wanted it as a wedding car, as a bridal car. Oh. So that's why we put the flowers in, and obviously we've left them in.
Oh, it's super. You had a lovely day.
Beautiful. The weather was gorgeous.
Good. Well, I think that's a great way to use this fantastic Continental. Thanks very much, Sheila. Well, that's all for this week. Join us next week where we're going to be looking at the fantastic GT40, how to buy a classic car, and we're going to be comparing 2 possible classic cars of the future, the DB7 and the Jaguar XK8. See you then.